So you're considering moving to Kansas City or the metropolitan area? Well, if you're anything like me and the hundreds of people that I've talked to and helped over the last 20 plus years, you're probably wondering where the best place to live is. You've probably watched a ton of YouTube videos and maybe even some of mine. And by the way, thank you for helping me grow my channel. You probably Googled a lot of places, and quite frankly, you're still potentially not for sure where to go, and even maybe wanting to just have a few more ideas on where to live. I know that relocating is really difficult, and it's hard sometimes to pick the community and what's best for you and what's ideal for your price range and just your budget. All of that is super important, I know. However, finding all of the information can sometimes be like you're looking for a needle in a haystack, really. It's so difficult sometimes. Well, in today's video, I am going to hopefully make that decision a lot less stressful. We're going to be covering the 5 best places to live based upon my clientele and the people that I'm around, and some of the feedback that you guys have given as well. These are people that have moved into the Kansas City area from various locations throughout the country, or they've been people who have hired me to sell their home and move into one of these other areas or buy their first property. So this is coming from a lot of the best feedback that I have received and the best information that I have out there. So I'm going to be passing that on to you guys. Now we're going to be covering different aspects of these communities, like touching on the schools, touching on the home prices, touching on some of the amenities that are in the communities to help it give you a feel for that community and to give you kind of an idea of what it's like and the vibe going on and just some general information about that. I'm going to even share some of my favorite resources with you so that you can see where I come up with some of my information as well. And if we've never met, my name is Anita Cordell. I love to make videos about the Kansas City metropolitan area, where to eat, where to sleep, where to live, where to play, what to do, where to bring your family, things to do on the weekends. I love to create a lifestyle here in Kansas City and so much more. I'm a licensed real estate agent, and I help people just like you buy, sell, relocate, and invest here in our amazing city. And I've been doing this for over 2 decades. I myself have lived in this area for most of my life, and that gives me a little bit more unique perspective as to where I like and what things I do, and I like to pass that on to you through my videos. If you don't know this yet, Kansas City sits right on the state line of Kansas and Missouri, and one thing that makes me unique is that I've actually lived on both sides of the state line and bring perspective on both sides of the state line, and I love passing on that information and helping you make decisions whether you're buying, selling, investing, or relocating here, because there's no place like home. Now, I'm really excited to share this video with you because of 2 different reasons. One, I am here and ready to make your desires and your real estate goals a reality. But number 2, I have some unique experiences. I've moved around the Kansas City area. I've lived in both on the Kansas and Missouri side, and I understand the relocation part of it. I have lived in this area most of my life. I grew up north of Kansas City in a town called Leavenworth. Most of my growing up years was there, and then almost all of my adult life has been in the Kansas City metropolitan area, shy of just a few years. But in all essence, most of my life have been around here, and so I've actually gotten a lot more experience from both sides, and I understand and relate to what people say when they talk about things about our city and talk about some of the nuances and some of the perceptions or whatever. I can relate to some of that as well. So with that being said, let's get started because I love our city. In this video, I'm going to be talking about some communities, and if you do a little bit of exploration in some of these areas, it might open your mind to some other parts of the city that you might not have considered when looking for a property. Now, not only are there incredible opportunities for jobs in a lot of these locations, but The things to do and the amenities in these areas are sometimes secret gems. So let's get down to the list. Now I want to be honest with you. The location that I live is not in this video, and the reason why is because most of my clientele, I guess, just haven't made that as a popular choice. But my city is not in here, and I honestly am glad that it's not, because it gives you a little bit of perspective of outside factual data and when it comes to what other people are saying, and also too it allows me to be fair and impartial without having my hometown in here. So I just wanted to be fair and transparent with you guys so that you would know what is going on and the decision that I made to not actually pick my hometown. Kansas City sits on the state line of Kansas and Missouri, but most of the counties that are surrounding the metropolitan area are on the Missouri side. There's some other obvious counties that are outside of the metropolitan area, but those are the 6 main counties that I follow and I track. And there's some other ones, like for instance, the county that I grew up in is Leavenworth County. It's 30 to 45 minutes north of the Kansas City metropolitan area. That's just one county. So I wanted to explain to you how the structure of the city is and the counties that I do. Now, with that being said, what I'm not going to cover is the safety of these specific areas. As a licensed professional, I am not able to say one area is safer than the other. That is a perception that you, as the person who is going to be living in that area, needs to decide. But you can go to neighborhoodscout.com and you can plug in the city and find out some of the crime stats and look at any area in the Kansas City metropolitan area on that website. So that is one of the biggest resources that I have for you right now, neighborhoodscout.com. You can go there and look at the crime and see information about the city. Another place that you can go is crimereports.com. You can look at the neighborhoods and see if it suits your comfort level and see if it would be okay with your lifestyle and where you would want to live. Now remember, these 5 cities are in no particular order. I did kind of divide them up by Kansas and Missouri. I kind of flip-flopped back and forth, but they're in no particular order. Like number 1 does not mean that this is the best place to live in Kansas City. I didn't want to do that. But let's go ahead and tell you what number 1 is. So the number 1 place on my list of top 5 places to live in Kansas City is the Brookside area. Brookside is a very trendy neighborhood. There's a lot of shopping around it. Brookside is actually one of the most desirable areas in the Kansas City area. This place is very old and quaint. There's a lot of boutiques, a lot of restaurants. You can find everything in it. And what is really unique about the Brookside area is it's walkable. It's not a huge area. I'm gonna pull up the map here and show you where it's at and show you that it is truly a really unique place. People love Brookside. And what I'm finding about Brookside is if they live in Brookside and they wanna downsize or get a little bit bigger of a house, they try and stay within the Brookside area. It's very common for that to occur. It's about 6 miles from downtown, and some of the things that it's known for are the unique styles of the home. You're gonna get Tudor style homes. You're gonna have a lot of architectural styles. The trees on the streets are very mature. You're not gonna find like brand new construction for the most part. It's really going to be pockets of tree-lined streets that are very mature. The walkable neighborhoods are very high attraction level to this area. And then there's a 6-mile-long trolley track trail. It's a really popular walking and bike trail, and it runs right through the Brookside Shopping Center, and it also runs right through a lot of the residential streets as well. At the time of this recording, there were 17 homes that were for sale in the Brookside area, and they range anywhere between $240,000 for a 3-bedroom, 2-bath condo, all the way up to a $9.3 million home. This $9.3 million home has 8 bedrooms, 8.5 baths, and it's a 1922-year-old mansion. And now I'm going to go over to the map and I'm going to show you where Brookside exactly is. Okay, so I pulled up a map and I am going to show you the rough area of Brookside. Now, Brookside is not actually a city, it's a community. And what that means is that it's really like a vibe. And when people ask where people live, like in the Brookside area, they will say, I live in Brookside, and people just know that this is roughly the area. Now, there's not like any hardcore boundaries. Some people say it's up to like 63rd Street. Other people say that it's 65th Street. Some people will say it's 55th Street. Other people will say it's like 49th Street. So it's roughly in this area, this pocket. So I'm just going to show you. Where I say it is, we're going to just draw these lines here. Where I say it is, so here's State Line, and State Line is the west part of the boundary of it. Drawing is not perfectly straight, but this is about homes right here. And then what I do typically is I will encompass just around the Country Club Plaza or just a little bit south of that. So like roughly 49th Street. So basically Brookside encompasses this rectangle, almost this exact rectangle. This whole area here is fantastic. It covers Loose Park. Loose Park here is fantastic, by the way. People take their animals there. It's so great. There have been people who have gotten married there. If you have not visited Loose Park, then you're missing out. It is fantastic. There's also a lot of quaint shops here. There's the National Museum of Toys and Miniatures. You've got Whole Foods. People are really into health in this area. There's actually a fun store. It's called A Store Named Stuff. But this is the Brookside area. And if I scroll out, I'm going to clear this off. I'm going to span out a little bit and show you. So you'll see that it's really actually just, I think it's just about 5 or 10 minutes from the downtown area. So you'll see here again, here's the downtown area. And then you've got the Kansas side over here, and then here's State Line, and then all of this is encompassing Missouri. So this just kind of tells you right about where Brookside area is. Scanning out, you can see the whole entire city here, and right here is where the airport is. And so you'd have to hop on usually I-29, and just some people will grab I-35 or they'll head downtown to the airport, but this is where the airport is. And so it takes probably roughly maybe 25 minutes, you know, depending on the traffic and what have you. But that is Brookside. Sometimes too, you know, it's not the easiest way to get to the highway. So when we're scrolling back in, you can see that 71 highway right here. It's really, if you hop on 71 highway, you can get almost anywhere. Like you can get to downtown or other pockets of the city, you know, easy with 71 highway. So that is the area that Brookside is. Literally, it is one of the favorite places to go. And if you cross over into that State Line area, you know, if you cross over past this, you're going to get into like Mission Hills and some really fantastic neighborhoods as well. But Brookside, I wanted to feature for sure on this part of the video. All right, so the second best place to live in the Kansas City area, based upon the people that I'm around and the knowledge I have, is Raymore, Missouri. Raymore, Missouri is absolutely exploding. Over the last 5 years, it has grown so much, and over the last 10 years, it has been just in a development in progress, and it is just really expanding. In fact, there are thousands of acres that are still yet to be undeveloped, and it was ranked as #1 in building permits in the entire Kansas City metropolitan area per capita. The city of Raymore is home to over 350 acres of parklands and green space, and it's connected to more than 20 miles of trails and walking paths. Now, as far as price range is concerned in Raymore, I looked today and you can find a 2-bedroom, 2-bath home for $119,000. And then there are all the way up to 4-bedroom, 4-bath homes for $1.7 million. As far as location is concerned, Raymore, Missouri is in Cass County. Okay, so if I pull up the map again and show you where Raymore is, it is way down here. It is south of Kansas City metropolitan area. So it's in Cass County. It's just right smack dab in the middle of Belton and Lake Winnebago, and just south of the Lee Summit area. Raymore is so fantastic. The Raymore Peck schools are rated very top, B+ and A- on niche.com. So if you go to niche.com, that's another tool that you can use. You can look up school rankings, you can look up areas. So just go to niche.com. You can also go to greatschools.org and look at that too. So there's a couple of other tools. And as far as Raymore is concerned, there are some fantastic neighborhoods. One of them is called Creekmore. Creekmore has its own lake. It's a lake community within there. Fantastic. I have friends that live in Creekmore and they absolutely love Creekmore. So let me show you another thing on this map. Okay, so here's the map and I'm going to show you where Raymore is in relation to the Kansas City metropolitan areas. Here is Raymore down here. In perspective, here is the Brookside area where we were looking at here, but it takes probably 50 minutes to get all the way to the airport, which is here. But I'm telling you, people love Raymore despite having to drive a little bit far to the airport. It's one of those outer lying, cities. As far as some good things about Raymore, one of the things that people absolutely love is that Raymore is so close to the highways to get on to head to the Ozarks. So if you can imagine getting onto the highway and heading to Ozarks and heading this way, you're so much closer to the Ozarks than what somebody is north of the river or even over here in the Kansas side. So people love Raymore. It's growing. The community at large is great. You can just see the expansion of it. It's so fantastic. As far as other communities in Raymore, there's some retirement communities. One of my favorite is called Alexander Creek. You can actually get into one of those retirement communities in the low 300s, and they're all like the properties. There's 2 bedrooms and 3 bedrooms. They're actually single family homes. They're on slabs. A lot of retirement folk will go out there and live in Alexander. They've downsized, they're ready to retire, they want to get close to the Ozarks or to Branson, so it's a perfect location for that, and absolutely an amazing community. So you've got to check out Raymore. There's so much to do there. There's activities, there's an ice skating rink. They have this park in the wintertime, they turn it into an ice skating rink. There's all kinds of things to do in Raymore, Missouri. It's such a small community, but yet it's got almost like a small big city feel, but yet not really. I have friends who live in Raymore, Missouri, and they are absolutely some of the finest people. I love the fact that Raymore comes together as a community at large. So anyway, if you want to consider outer skirts community, one of the best places to live is Raymore. So number 3, this may actually surprise some of you guys because, yeah, maybe some of the reputation or whatever, but the third community that I wanted to focus on today is Leawood, Kansas. Leawood, Kansas is about 10 miles away from the downtown area. It covers about 14.7 square miles. It butts up to Overland Park, Kansas, Prairie Village, as well as Kansas City, Missouri. Leawood is considered one of the most beautiful communities in the whole northeastern part of Kansas. Another thing about Leawood is it is stated to be one of the wealthiest cities in the entire country, and it has a lot of prestigious businesses in it, and it is considered one of the top growth areas in the U.S., with an expected increase in population to be roughly around the 40,000 over the next 10 years. The median age is about 44, which is a little older than the median age of the entire county of Johnson County. Now, if you've heard of Town Center Plaza, or if you've gone to Town Center Plaza and shopped, this is Leawood. So if you come there and you shop, you know that it is a fantastic city. Now, Park Place is right across the street from Town Center. There's a lot of smaller, more unique shops in there. Then there's some really cool things to do in Leawood. Did you know that blade and timber axe throwing is in Leawood? Another thing about Leawood is there's the Leawood City Park. It's got 66 acres. This is also a great place for sports. Now, I know that Leawood butts up against Overland Park, and Overland Park has some fantastic things about sports. In fact, I've done a whole video about Overland Park, but Leawood also has some facilities for sports lovers. There's a park that's got 11 soccer fields on it. There's 3 basketball goals, 2 baseball fields, 2 sand volleyball courts, and there's even a jogging trail on this park. Now, I will tell you this, that just being real and honest with you, Leawood is a very close-knit city. And even though there's a lot of wealth in the city and there's a lot of prestigious businesses and a lot of shops, and then the homes are higher than most of the city around as far as average sales price goes. My experience with the people that live in Leawood and that are around there is that snobby is not what people experience. Some people will say that because of the wealth that is in Leawood, but once you get to know the people quit saying that Leawood is snobby. It just happens because the people there are what makes this community so fantastic. The vibe is so fun. While the art doesn't necessarily compare with the art that's in Kansas City, Missouri or Overland Park, and I talk about the Overland Park art in my video all about Overland Park, there's still some really neat things about the artists and the community about that when it comes to the Leawood area. The vibe is just so fun there. And it is a really great city, especially if you want to enjoy some of the finer things in life. Now, when I talk about finer things in life, and when I talk about the housing industry, and when I talk about all these, it's a perspective. You know, you have to remember that Leawood is a smaller city. It butts up to Overland Park, which is very, very large. Leawood is a smaller city in the sense that there's less population there, but the sales price of the homes are higher. The average sales price at the time of this recording was $1.4 million. You can get a 4-bedroom home for about $449,000, or you can go all the way up to about $4.5 million for a 6-bedroom, 8-bath home. Now, I want to tell you this about the history of Leawood. Did you know that Daniel Boone explored this area? So cool. I love Leawood, and while it might not necessarily be in most people's price range, if you have the ability and you are considering a little bit more of an area that's got some finer luxury properties, then Leawood would be an absolute amazing place for you to look. So be sure and check out my contact information below. I'd love to help you in any of these areas, but Leawood is something that people don't always consider. The 4th best place to live in Kansas City is Parkville, Missouri. Now, I'm going to tell you this. In my opinion, Parkville is one of Kansas City's best kept secrets. I'm telling you, if you have not visited Parkville, you are missing out. It is the perfect day trip. There is an amazing downtown. There's all kinds of antiques. There's collectibles. There's quilts. There's boutiques. There's art. It is really, really a beautiful city to go and visit, and I would encourage you to take your family, to take your friends. If you have somebody who's coming into town to visit with you, I would encourage you to take them to Parkville, Missouri for the day. You will not be sad about that. You seriously will. You will have an amazing time in Parkville, Missouri. And speaking of Parkville, did you know that it's made the news multiple times? In fact, it has been ranked as one of the top 10 most beautiful small towns in the country. Some even call Parkville the Kansas City's hallmark town. It is so cute, so pretty, so lovely. It has got its own vibe of its own that you just don't want to leave Kansas City never going to. You've got to experience it. That's exactly what it is. It is an experience. The historical streets and the old styled shops, they all tell a story. If you are needing, for instance, a quick treat or like a little pick-me-up, like a pie pick-me-up, go to the baker's table. Also, if you are wanting to make Parkville actually a weekend getaway, they've got 8 different Airbnbs, and then if you don't want to stay in the Airbnb, you can always go to Main Street Inn. Main Street Inn sits up on this little hill and it overlooks the downtown. Such a cute area. There's all kinds of bistros, great places to eat. There's a fun vintage shop. There's a vintage watch shop. It's called Cool Vintage Watches. You've got to go in there and see it. Live music on Friday and Saturday nights at the Creek Irish Pub and Music. You can go on Main Street and enjoy music on the second Saturday of every month. There's so much to do at this. So if you're downtown, you've got to check out the Bentley Guitar Studio. It's located on Main Street, as is all kinds of these shops are located on Main Street. But the Bentley Guitar Studio was actually voted one of the best indie guitar shops in the country by Guitar Player magazine. Parkville also has a classic car show. They've got a fantastic July 4th weekend event, and then they've got Christmas on the river. So I looked up what was on the market right now in Parkville, and you can get a 4-bedroom, 4-bath home for $299,000, or you can get, the prices range all the way up to $6.9 million, and that property has 6 bedrooms, 8 full baths, and 4 half baths. As you can see, there's a lot of diversity here when it comes to home prices and all of the different areas. We certainly want to make sure that all of the areas that we would look at would meet your needs, would meet your price ranges, would meet what you are looking for in a lifestyle. So please feel free to reach out to me. My contact information is below, and there's actually a calendar link where if you click on that calendar link, you can schedule a meeting with me and we can talk a little bit more about what you're wanting and what you're needing in your lifestyle and in your family. Now, the 5th best place to live in the Kansas City metropolitan area on my list is Lee Summit, Missouri. What is there not to like about Lee Summit, Missouri? It's from the downtown area, Main Street, all the different shops, to all of the new construction going on. Lee Summit, Missouri is a place for everybody in your entire family. Lee Summit literally looks like, in certain pockets of the city, like it just came out of a magazine. This community comes together for each other, and Lee Summit is one area that there's something for everyone in this community. I love Lee Summit. So here is Lee Summit. It spans really far north here and goes very far south. We're covering, it even cuts into like near Lake Winnebago, covers certain areas of, this is certain areas of Lakewood. So there's certain lake communities that are in here in Lee Summit. It is such a fantastic area to live in. Now I will show you here on this, spanning out. I touched on Lee Summit earlier when I was talking about Raymore, Missouri. So here's Lee Summit here. It is a growing community as well. It takes about 45 minutes to get to the airport, which is up here. A lot of people actually will live in Lee Summit and then they will work over here in the Overland Park area. People tend to really enjoy that. The ride and the commute, you would think, would be kind of difficult because, you know, you're having to drive on 435 here, and in 435 in rush hour, it's not that bad. I mean, they've expanded the highway, and so therefore it doesn't take as long. They've added an extra lane or two. And when you're driving this, even in rush hour, yeah, it's going to slow down just a little bit, but comparably speaking, our rush hour traffic from other big cities is not that difficult. It's not that hard. So it may take an extra 20 minutes or what have you, but 45 minutes, you know, to the airport from Lee Summit, it's not that bad. You just hop on 435 or hop on right here and go to the airport. But Lee Summit to Corporate Woods, maybe 25 minutes. It's not bad at all. So there's a lot of people that actually work in Corporate Woods, which is in Overland Park, and they'll live in Lee Summit. And that's pretty common, actually. The thing that people ask me about is, what's the difference between living in Kansas and living in Missouri, and vice versa, especially if you're working in Kansas and living in Missouri. So if that was something that you were considering, if you wanted to work in Kansas and live in Missouri, you would just need to talk to your accountant and see what your accountant says, and it may not affect you at all, but that would be something just to consider. Another thing too, living in Kansas City, Missouri and working in Kansas City, Missouri, if you work in Kansas City, Missouri, you actually have to pay an extra income tax for that. So when I'm talking about all of these, keeping in mind some of those things, and it's all perspective. Now, speaking of Lee Summit, and I was talking about the Lakewood community, I've actually done a whole video about Lakewood. It's a no-wake lake. It's absolutely fantastic. Part of the Lakewood is in the Blue Springs city, and most of it's in the Lee Summit city. But the schools in Lee Summit are fantastic. There's activities, everything that you would want to do in Lee Summit. Everything you need is there, and it's so family friendly. In fact, I did another video about the entire city of Overland Park, and Lee Summit is often compared to Overland Park. They call it the Overland Park of Jackson County. One of the other things that is really cool about Lee Summit is Legacy Park. It's got 692 acres, and it hosts things like all kinds of sporting. In fact, when there's like a softball, there's soccer fields, softball fields, there's baseball fields, there's even a football association attached to it. So Legacy Park is this huge park, and it covers everything you would need when it comes to outdoor sports. In fact, we've played there with soccer as well as softball, and it's a great facility. If you're a sports family, Lee Summit is a great option for you because there's so much available. Now, if you didn't go to Legacy Park for sporting events, you could also go to Legacy Park for other things. It's got 3 different shelters. It's got community center. There's 22-acre lake. There's a disc golf course. There's an amphitheater there. There's a playground, 4.7-mile trail. And there's been all kinds of improvements to the practice fields there. There's 2 t-ball fields. There's a fishing dock. There's just all kinds of things available to it. The Legacy Amphitheater is this really cool amphitheater too, where people will bring their lawn chairs and listen to live music. Such a neat way to bring the community at large together. Now, another cool thing about Lee Summit is there are plans now in place for the downtown market plaza. It's this mixed use area. It's going to be in the heart of downtown Lee Summit. They're going to have this open area where the farmers market is going to come. It's going to have a new event space. There's going to be an outdoor performance area. I'm not really for sure what the target market would be for that versus the amphitheater, but going to have a lot of really neat things to it. There's going to be a streetscape pavilion, so check that out because that is coming, and it is going to be so cool. Now, another thing I really love about Lee Summit is the fact that the community gets involved, and as I was talking about that earlier, they actually track how much of the community volunteers, and as of the time of this recording, there was 56,000 volunteer hours from the residents and people who actually volunteer for community events and all kinds of things for Lee Summit. So way to go, Lee Summit. You guys are hands down such a great example when it comes to things like this. In fact, several years ago, Lee Summit was named as one of the America's Great Neighborhoods by the American Planning Association. So way to go. I'm really proud of selling in Lee Summit and helping people live there. Now, as far as homes are concerned, they range anywhere between 264,000 to 4.7 million, with the average being around 577,000. Now, I hope that this video was helpful for you. I know that there's a lot to consider when you are relocating, and having somebody around you to help you with making some decisions, or at least giving you some information, is obviously really helpful. And I know that you watching this video has shown me that some of my information is valuable. And so I know that there are people all across the country moving into Kansas City, and hopefully this information was helpful to you. We help people all across the country, whether that's them moving here or moving to another place, because I have a huge network of agents even in other markets. So I can pass the baton to them, or I can help people move into town as well. So If this is of interest to you, I mean, this is not a sales pitch at all, but we just want to serve you wherever you're at. That is our team. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. My contact information is below. You can reach out. Again, you can click on that calendar link and schedule a time to meet up with us. We'll talk about what you're wanting and what you're needing, and hopefully you will allow us to serve you in your relocation needs. Now, YouTube is going to give you a couple of videos to watch, so feel free to watch those and feel free to subscribe and like. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. Also, too, if there's another area of Kansas City that you would like for me to do a video on, please just put it in the comments below. Other people who are watching these videos will enjoy your comments, and as I'm growing this channel, they're gonna actually see those comments, and it will actually help me to create other content for you to watch and to learn about our cities. And until next time, go out and live your very best Kansas City life.